Hi everyone, welcome to Cow Corner Cricket Cast. I'm your host Pratham. I'm joined by my other host Rohan, and today we're going to be discussing the big match. The match that we as test purists have been anticipating for the last 2 years. Every series we've watched has been a build-up to this, the WTC final between India and New Zealand. And going into this match, a lot of expectations, guys. Huge stakes on the line. For India, this would be a culmination after that win in Australia for a second time with a reduced draft to prove that they are truly the best in the world and to cement their legacy. For New Zealand,
first major honors.
Yeah, the perennial underdogs, right? This is their chance to say, you know what? We were robbed in the 2015 VC final. We were robbed in the 2019 World Cup final. And now we get to win a major tournament, right? So
yeah. And by the way, I really do like how they set up the World Test Championship. And I genuinely, the only criticism is like I wanted this to be like a 3-match series or something like that, just to up the stakes, right? And just be like, oh, okay, let's go for it. Let's play 3 matches across the world, right?
So you're in the Shastri camp, the BOULT camp.
Dude, I am. Ravi Shastri has had like he's had one of those like moments of clarity. He's like, yeah, we should probably. It's like how he fixed Pujara's batting, right? That like last time we were in England, and he was like, oh yeah, you just need to make a slight technical change, and then you'll be fine. And it worked. And he then was like the number 1, number 3 batsman in the world for like a year after that fix, and then he got old. So my point is. I think that what really needs, I think a 3-match championship final, right? You play one match in the home of one country, one match in the home of the other country, and then one match at like Lords or the MCG or something.
Yeah, neutral venue. Yeah.
Yeah, and just have that happen, and it'll just because that'll drum up support for it. B, you'll get matches in which teams are going to obviously try and doctor the pitches to try and get themselves the best chance to win. So you get to see a lot more action. We talked about like the pitch and the weather conditions. I know there's rain scheduled for the first 2 days in the mornings, so we might lose a few sessions. Good news is they brought back reserve days, so
thank God.
So they can make up those 1 or 2 sessions that they might lose.
Yeah, finally the ICC using their common sense in a situation.
This is like brilliant. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Let's make sure that we get the 5 days of cricket if we need the 5 days of cricket. Don't let climatic conditions necessarily end a match that is winnable for either team, right?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you, man. It's great on them to do that. I think it's also great that the curator, who is going to be preparing the Southampton pitch, because yes, the match is going to be played at Southampton, the Rose Bowl, the home ground of Hampshire. Go Hants! I'm a Hampshire fan, for the record. But wonderful pitch. Wonderful pitches in store apparently. A pitch with bounce, carry, pace, and according to the curator, there'll be also a little bit in it for the spinner on the latter parts of day 4 and day 5. So
it's a good toss to win.
Yeah, it's a good toss to win. And it's a
therefore, obviously, New Zealand will win the toss because we already know how Kohli is with tosses. You should seriously just send like Shubman Gill down there and just be like, hey, you take the toss. do the FAF move, which is just like, yeah, I don't want to make this. I'm unlucky, so you go take the toss, and then I'll make the decision.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You should definitely do that. So, on to the squads themselves, moving away from the conditions and all on the pitch to the actual players who are playing in this match.
Yeah.
Squads were announced, which was cool. 14, 15 men, whatever it is.
15-man squads. No big surprises, really.
No. I mean, I think with both teams knowing such top-tier teams, right, and being in control of the game, that should be the case, right? You shouldn't have too many surprises going into a final. And that's what it's proven to be. Going through the squad itself, we have Kane Williamson, obviously captain. Tom Blundell, the reserve wicketkeeper. He's probably going to not play in this match because BJ Watling is going to play in this match.
Yeah, it just depends on Watling's back, essentially.
Yeah. But I think he's the kind of player who's not going to miss this final, right? It's
it's his last match, and he wants to win it so desperately. I mean, the man's been a loyal servant of New Zealand for decades. So
yeah, and I simulated the final on a game, a mobile game that I used to play, Real Cricket 20. So I actually simulated the final, and New Zealand happened to win by 2 wickets for the record. But I'll have the this video link, or in the video we have here, I'll have a photo at the end of what are my simulations like. And Watling scores 190 to win them the match.
That sounds like BJ Watling, man first score.
But yeah, other team players: Trent Boult, left-arm pacer; Devon Conway, opener; Colin Granholm, as we mentioned, medium pace all-rounder; Henry, Jameson, Latham, Nichols, Ajaz Patel, Tim Southey, Ross Taylor, Neil Wagner, and then Will Young, the reserve batsman who made his comeback, if you will, to Test match cricket when Williamson, rested out the second Test match for England. So he's probably not going to play either.
New Zealand has decided they're going to play to their strengths, and I think that's what both teams have decided. I think that in the case of New Zealand, they realize that their strength is their seamers, and that top order. They know that they can get 1 through 5. They know they can get runs. Those guys are amongst the top 10 at their position, pretty much universally, right?
Yeah, and
Latham's probably the best. Latham's probably the best opener on the planet right now. Devon Conway has come in. He's done a really good job. He's earned his spot on that side. Kane Williamson is the best batsman on the planet at the moment, against anyone not named Jimmy Anderson. Yeah. Then you have Ross Taylor, who's the old reliable. He has 7,000 Test runs. What needs to be said about him? He's the old reliable guy, and that's what that you can count on to score in tough situations. And then you have Henry Nichols, who's brilliant against everything except off spin. So, and then number 6, you have BJ Watling, probably the best keeper of his generation. So it's a comprehensive side. It's a side that doesn't really have any weaknesses that you can really point to, except maybe Kane Williamson struggling against the Duke's ball swinging, and Henry Nichols struggling a little bit against against spinners, which is unfortunate for Henry Nichols because when we get to India, which I think is what we're going to next.
Yeah, well, there's a certain right off spinner who's probably going to play in the final, who's probably going to be pretty crucial, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I agree with you. I think the squad covers all the bases. I think it's quite well organized and so forth. I'd say the main decision that they would have to make is: do they go the route of the 5 bowlers? Do they go the route of 4 bowlers with Colin Granholm, right? And it is out there just because if they go with their 4 best bowlers, technically they would go with pacers, and especially if the Southampton wicket has a little bit in it for the batsman, and if Pujara grinds them down, then obviously that's going to start telling, especially if they play in the second innings. So I think they have a decision to make. They either nix Colin Granholm, keep the 4 pacers, and add Ajaz Patel. You do extend the tail that way, but Jameson and Southey can both bat, so it's not the end of the world in that.
And of course, Neil Wagner was tonking Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah, 6. Neil Wagner's Brian Lara, dude. So he's the becoming modern Brian Lara. So
modern Lara. Yeah. Personally, I think that my view is that I think they should play De Granholm, and De Granholm is a very useful bowler on these kind of wickets. He moves the ball both ways. He gets good bounce. He's not going to challenge you, beat you with bits, but these aren't wickets that you're going to win by just bowling fast on.
Yeah, and you need that. He's a very good support bowler, right? Like, economy rate's very low usually. He just bowls and keeps it very tight, right? Which is something.
Plus, plus with the injury to Mitch Santner, I think they're going to look at it and say, well, we might want an extra bat. Right? If Mitch Santner was healthy, I don't think this would be a question to go with the 4 seamers and just be like, all right, we're going for it that way. But with Mitch Santner out due to injury, it makes a lot of sense. Especially also if BJ Watling is out due to it's a back injury.
That's a really good point.
Those things are difficult to come back from. Those things are difficult to know if the player is fully fit. So again, I want that insurance that I know that I can go to a guy who can, hold a bat, do his thing with the bat. that kind of stuff.
You definitely make a very good argument and case for that, right? I personally would just go for the spinner for two reasons. A, I think you know having that aggressive move is a declaration and a statement of intent to your opposition, and can often be demoralize you psychologically. But the other thing I think that's really crucial about having a spinner is they're playing against India. Now, India is notorious for being, in this modern day, very complacent against spinners. We always think that, like, we're Sachin, we're from the
Sachin, Dravid, Lakshman. Those guys would just like murder any off spinner.
So obviously our guys
showed up. They were like, no, that guy's going to that ball's going to go for through mid on because obviously, and that ball's going to go through mid wicket, and that ball's going to go through cover, and that one's going to go through point.
All delivered the exact same, right? But I'll tell you this: I saw the second Test match with you, right? Ajaz Patel bowled really well. He's a damn good spinner. In my book, gets that loop, that drift. He would be a player to watch out.
I'm gonna also add this in. The only full-time spinner that has given this current India team trouble on turning tracks is Keshav Maharaj at home.
Yeah.
And he's a left armer.
Yeah, and before him, Herath. So I'm just saying.
So again, you've got it. I mean that's a good setup. Let's actually get to that Indian squad. We're gonna have the tried and tested opening pair of Rohit and Shubman opening up. Chitesh, and then you have the stalwarts 3-4-5. So that's Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane. Number 6 is Vihari, who's had a mixed county season. So it's not really he's in the squad just because if they need someone, if there's a concussion, which obviously has happened in recent times to two well-respected players in the cricketing fraternity, Bonner and Faf. Hopefully Faf's doing okay. Pretty bad concussion by all accounts. So he isn't there just basically in case Pujara gets hurt, or Rahane gets hurt, or Kohli gets hurt, and he's just there just to get cover.
Yeah, and he can do that Pujara role, right? So
basically that number 3 batsman kind of position where you can just come in and just slow the game down, make things easier for everyone else, right? Then we have Rishabh Pant, who's back in the squad. Not back in the squad. He's in the squad. He's the first choice wicketkeeper.
Yeah, that was
Ridwan Saha, who's been probably the most unfortunate keeper of his generation. He's stuck between two really good two guys that are going to go down as all-time Indian greats.
Yeah, he got Healy'd, right? Like when Gilchrist came in and ended.
Yeah, he got Healy'd. He got Healy'd big time, and it's unfortunate, but he's back but he's good to see him in the squad again.
Yeah,
good safe pair of hands behind the stumps, and that's good to hear. Then we got the spin twins, Ashwin and Jadeja. They're as usual in the squad, and then we got 5 seamers, which is like, imagine going back in time to like the 90s and saying India will play 5 seamers in a World Test Championship final in England, and all of them are expected to be pretty good.
Dude, people would laugh you out of the room if you said that India would qualify for a World Test Championship final.
Yeah, that's they'd laugh you out of the room if they said World Test Championship final against New Zealand.
Yeah, that would people then would just be like dying of laughter.
What the hell? What kind of drugs are you on, man?
Rolling on the floor.
Yeah, and those 5 are the 5 best bowlers that India has. They have their 1 through 3, which are Bumrah, Sharma, and Shami, and then they have their number 4, number 5, Yadav and Suraj. This is like surprisingly for a team that is led by Kohli. This makes perfect sense. Like there's no like random player that like Kohli is like saw once at like an SRH like reserve game and was like, that guy should be in the Indian Test side or something like that. Major question. India is going to go with a 3-2 split, and I know that everyone was like, oh well, what if before they dropped Shardul, we're like, oh, we should play Shardul Thakur, or we should drop Ashwin. It's like
unreal.
You don't drop your number 1 wicket taker. Never, ever, ever, ever drop your number 1 wicket taker unless they're not fit.
Yeah.
And Ashwin's fit, so play him in this match. Like, this is what's incredibly stupid to me, right? Like, you have Rishabh Pant. He can score centuries. He scored a century in England. You have Ravi Jadeja, who scored a century.
Right, but the question you were asking about the 3-2 split. Well, who are the 3 pace bowlers? I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's the question. That's the actual question.
Yeah.
See, you could choose, and rubbish. There have been rumors that they might drop Shami. And it's not totally crazy. Remember, Mohamed Shami is a world-class bowler. Except he struggles in England. He really struggles in England. He has
averages
an average
40,
over
doesn't he?
40.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just not very good in England. He's a match winner. Don't get me wrong. He's a guy that you can toss the ball to in the second innings and be like, we're up against the wall. We need someone to take like 3 or 4 wickets really quickly. He'll do it.
But
on the other hand,
Siraj is bowling really well, man.
Siraj has been bowling well for the last year.
Took a fifer in Australia.
Fifer in Australia. He was a huge part of the Gabba win. He was a huge part of the draw at the SCG. Huge part of the win at the MCG. And then in India, he came in after Bumrah had to go get married, which is an interesting subplot to that series, which we'll just simply blank from our minds. It's like, oh, why is Bumrah not playing? Yeah, must have been injured, or something like that. No, he got married.
Yeah.
But he's really earned his spot in this squad, and I don't think it's fair to Shami to drop him for the entire series. I don't think that's what they should do. But I think in the World Test Championship final, you've got to play the hot hand, and at the moment, that's Siraj. He's been. In the practice matches, he's been taking like I think in the second innings of the practice match, he took like 2 for 22 or something like that.
Yeah. No, bowled really
Very
well.
economical, bowling good line, good length. He's swinging the ball, doing all kinds of clever things, and you know that's useful against New Zealand. You don't need the guy who can reverse swing the ball because it's unlikely you're going to get reverse.
That's true. This Southampton outfield is probably going to be fairly lush. Although I will say for the record, if there was a pitch that would be good for Shami in England, it's probably this one at Southampton. This is the kind of surface.
It's just the weather. It's the weather conditions that aren't helping. They're gonna be cloud cover. There's gonna be all that other stuff that isn't necessarily conducive to, and plus rain. Which isn't going to be conducive to him getting that beautiful reverse swing that he gets so often, and is just awesome to watch.
Fair enough. Ishan's going to be really crucial in this match, especially if there's pace and bounce. He is that tall, because people forget, he's not only just a bowler who cleans up left-handers and very good with a new ball, he's also a fantastic defensive bowler in the sense that he doesn't go for a lot of runs because he has the height. And especially if this pitch has pace and bounce, in saner conditions when there is pace and bounce, right? What you often need is you need to stop the counterattack, right? Often you'll be in a situation where you're like 180 for 5, a team is at 180 for 5, and then the wicketkeeper number 7 will put on a counterattacking partnership that can get them to the 350 or something, right? When you have a tall bowler like that, it actually allows you, because he's only going to go for 2.5 runs and over, it allows you to, on one end, to keep on exerting that pressure for a spell for 8 to 10 overs. And essentially, it can often be the difference between you getting a side getting 250 or 300 and getting a score of 400 or so, right? So,
and I also think that Ishant has been consistently over the last tour of England was India's probably their best bowler. So it's a good idea to have him there, especially he knows how to use the swing, he knows how to use the bounce, he knows how to bowls the cutters well. So he's a good bowler, and he's the guy I would pick if I had to pick someone to win the match for India with the ball. He's probably the guy I'd pick.
New Zealand side, like Trent, right? BOULT. If he can get that initial burst of 3 wickets for nothing on the first morning, if India put that in some saving conditions, that's probably going to be critical for them. Obviously, he's coming back from an injury. That's going to be relevant. But I think it's funny because you have the opening bowlers that are going to matter a lot in terms of key players from both of these squads to look at. But then you're also going to worry about the openers, right? Or the opening batsmen, if you will, right? And I think in particular, guys who are going to be crucial, right? Latham, I know he's had a bit of a quiet run, right? At the top of the order.
Which is uncharacteristic for Tom Latham. So I'm fully expecting him to start hitting out quickly and start piling up a big score.
And the thing is, he's the kind of guy who has an appetite for batting long periods of time and scoring big runs, right? Daddy hundreds, if you will. And he needs to do that. And then for India, the key player that I would say to watch out for this series is going to be Shubman Gill. I know nobody's talking about him, and I know he's had a tough time against England, right? But trust me, man, if he can get a century, I mean, first of all, it'll make his name in India. He will be established as an international superstar. I mean, he's already on that trajectory, but if he gets 100 here, in this circumstance, one of the most important matches of his career, probably ever. That'll set him up, and I think he'll be desperate to prove that he can combat the swinging conditions after looking a little bit not
Suspect.
suspect
At home. Final thoughts? Who's gonna win?
Ooh, this is tough. I'm gonna, just because I made a simulation, which I'm gonna post at the end of this video for the record, viewers, you can check it out on Real Cricket 20, a mobile game that I used to play a long back, and I came back specifically to play this one match. I'm gonna go with my prediction: New Zealand to win by 2 wickets.
I'm gonna go against that prediction. I think that this Indian team has enough match winners in it, because we're also forgetting that Rohit Sharma in big games, he is a big game player. He will score big runs in big games.
Yeah.
We've seen it in Australia, we've seen it in India, we've seen it in New Zealand.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna say I think India wins by 50 runs. I think it's gonna be very close. That's genuinely what I think. I don't think it's gonna be, again, this is the year of Test cricket. I think this is the year that more and more average like cricket fans, not like purists or Test cricket tragics, start picking up Test cricket and they're like, oh yeah, this is fun. This is actually interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be close, and it's going to be a great advertisement for Test cricket. And with that, guys, we're going to be signing off.